Do you want to start reading tarot cards for yourself? I'm here today to tell you that you can. And it's actually quite fun to do it yourself. If you keep your expectations obviously realistic and you treat it as learning a new language or learning a new skill. So first of all, if you treat any oracle deck as a new language of imagery, rumor has it that the very, very, very first human language or conscious language on the planet was actually based on imagery. But that's rumor. I don't have evidence and I don't have arguments for you. Take it or leave it. But the oracle decks, if you treat them as a language, and if you have actually learned a second language, you know what to do. You have to build a minimum critical mass of vocabulary for a foreign language. For myself, my rule has always been 2,000 words, and actually phrases are even better. So 2,000 phrases, and then I can actually start saying things and practicing. Before that, you're just saying out words without any meaning, any order, anything. You just working on the mechanics of pronunciation. After 2,000 phrases, you can actually say, hey, hi, I'm glad to meet you, and would you like to eat, and what shall we eat, all those basic things. But the 2,000 has always been my own critical mass. The good news with the oracle decks is you don't need 2,000 words. Tarot has what, 72, 76, I always forget the number, cards. So there it is. You memorize 76 phrases. Although it could be quite overwhelming if you want to do it in a day, especially since many cards have several keywords. And when I started doing tarot for myself, what I did is I preferred to work with the Marseille deck. And the Marseille deck has, for the pip cards, it's all numbers and symmetry, and kind of pleased my geometry-loving brain. I love the symmetry. I love the patterns created, the interwoven wands and swords and the cups and the coins, and so it was very beautiful. And so it relieved that anxiety that I had to memorize a lot of imagery. It also helped me because some of the imagery was not pleasant. If you have seen if you have looked at the standard tarot white decks, you have some cards that are like, the 3 of swords with that bleeding heart and the 3 knives in it, or the 10 of swords, the person with 10 swords in the back. You don't want to start with that. You don't want anything that is shocking, because the whole point is, once you learn the language, this is a way to communicate with your higher self, with your guides, with the universe, or whoever is the power that watches over you and you like to connect with them. You widen up the field through which they can communicate with you. And remember, universe doesn't understand human language. It doesn't understand grammar, but the universe does operate in imagery and archetypes. And so that is why the tarot or any oracle deck is actually much easier language to communicate with your higher guides and your higher self than simply words. Take this example. I just came back from a trip to Chicago. I went to attend Lee Harris's Oneness concert there. I've been following Lee for a while. I like him very much. He's one of the few thoughtful, spiritual teachers who know what they're doing and they're authentic. And so I appreciate that. There are too many people out there right now with a little bit of psychic abilities, but they're screaming and frightening themselves, frightening everybody else, turning themselves into the screeching prophets, always predicting doomsday. But whatever, that's beside the point. So when I went to Chicago, I had this afternoon for myself before Lee's concert, and I decided to visit the nearby Morton, I think it's called the Morton Arboretum. It's a wonderful place. So if you ever go to that suburb of Chicago, it was the Oak Brook suburb, I strongly recommend it. It was beautiful. I got to meander along the paths and smell the pine tree along the coniferous path. I sat on a bench by the crabapple lake and enjoyed the dance of the red-winged blackbirds. In fact, there was even a stork, I think, across the lake on the other bank. And so after 2 hours, and the weather was balmy, 70 Fahrenheit with a slight breeze and low humidity, amazing. So after 2 hours, I said, okay, I have to start getting back to my hotel and getting ready for the concert that evening. And I had to call a rideshare service. And because I had used the same service before early in the day from the airport to my hotel, when I pulled up my app, the app said, oh, do you want to go to the O'Hare airport, or do you want to go to this and that, such and such hotel? And I thought, those apps are always tracking us, right? So might as well take advantage of all that tracking that they do. And I said, well, okay, how convenient. You're already tracking me where I have been today. And no, I don't want to go back to the airport, but I want to go back to the hotel. So I selected the hotel, and the car came and I jumped in, and I was playing with my cards because while I was waiting to get to the hotel. And I like this deck of Oracle, I think it's called Chakra Oracle card by Tori Hartman. I love that deck. It's only like 49 cards, 7 cards per chakra, but they all come with like beautiful life situations with stories. Every card, especially on the phone app, you have the story with each card. I'm not affiliated with the creator in any way or the publisher. This is me just enjoying the cards. And so I pulled one card, and the card is the yellow that says dissipation. Now, it's not one of my favorite cards. It's an elderly lady with her pet parrot watching TV and discussing between each other how they have this idea of a movie script, but they don't have the money to produce it. And if they only had the money. But then they won the lottery, and instead of creating that script, they actually won on a cruise trip. And then when they went back, the money was all spent, and they were back to watching TV in their little private room and talking again how they had this idea of the script, and if they only had the money, they would produce it. So you can see why I don't like that card. I have got that card in the past when I had said one thing, but I didn't follow through. And it could be something as simple as I decide or make the intention to go to bed early. And then there it is, it's 11:30 or midnight, and I'm still doom scrolling on my phone. And if I do it like over and over and over, and my body cycle shifts to that late going to bed, I can get that card. I've got it. It's like, yeah, I know. I always say I want to go to bed early, but I missed that. Or sometimes I would say, you know what, I'm going to eat simple food. The next thing I'm just enjoying in some dark, decadent piece of chocolate. And again, once it never happens, but this bleeds into twice a week and 3 times a week, and the next thing you eating a piece of chocolate every day, every meal. And that's when I would get the card. It's like, yeah, it's right. I always say I want to get more healthy diet, and then I end up with the chocolate. So this is how I've got the card in the past, and you can tell why it's not my favorite. It's kind of, I always felt like it admonishes, like, wait a minute, did you say something that you'll do and you're not doing it, or vice versa? So I always felt like it was criticizing me, and immediately my hackles rise, and I feel very defensive. Ego feels defensive. This time, however, I was on a trip, on an adventure to see Lee Harris's concert. And in fact, I had taken steps methodically to follow my higher guides, and I asked multiple times, please give me signs if that is not the path, or if there's something better, or if I'm overlooking, and help me make the best of this adventure. And so I felt like I was in alignment with my path, and I was enjoying myself. And here I'm getting this card, yellow dissipation. So I was like, I don't understand the card. So I just dismissed it. And then we arrived at the hotel, and as soon as I left and I walked into the lobby of the hotel, I realized it was the wrong hotel. Dang it. It turns out that there are 2 hotels with almost identical names. And they both are owned by Hilton, and they're both within 3 miles distance in the Oak Brook suburb of Chicago. How frustrating. And then on top of it, the app, weren't they supposed to track me and to notice that I went to the other hotel? So much for tracking, guys. I mean, they're probably tracking, but I don't think they're as good as they they would like to sell to us. That's the saving grace. They track, but it's not quite clear what they're tracking. But ultimately, I was ready to blame myself. I should have been more careful, more attentive. I should not have assumed that my phone app knows better than me. I should have paid attention, watched, all those things. And even the car driver asked me, is that the place? I was like, oh yes, it was. It was not. So I had to call another car and wait for my share ride to come. And I'm sitting out there outside, ready to, and the ego again is doing what the ego does, hyper criticizing what I should have done, what I could have done, and how is it my fault or is it someone else's fault? It doesn't matter whose fault it is. The point is, now your ego has got you into that untenable, unproductive mindset. And nothing good comes out of that mindset. Even if you go back to your hotel, you might be too upset and you miss a step and you trip and you twist your ankle, or all sort of things can happen because of this. Now you're in the wrong mind, as A Course in Miracles likes to point out. So I wanted to get myself out of the wrong mind. I felt like it was going there. So I pulled another chakra card, and it was no longer dissipation, because you know what? You guys do not wag fingers at you. They do not tell you, I told you so. They do not criticize. Your ego does. You do it to yourself. You guys are here to keep you along the path, the middle line. And they also want to show you that any mistake can be corrected. So it was such a comforting and kind message, because the card that I pulled was again a yellow card from the Yellow Chakra series, but it was abundance. And my heart felt with gratitude immediately, because I just recognized that it was my ego going hypercritical. My guides were sending now signals, comforting signals, saying, it's okay. You have everything. In our Father's mansion, we have everything. Or, get into that mindset. $30 is nothing in the grand scheme of life. We will find ways. You will find ways to tap into that abundance. So don't get caught up into the scarcity mentality. That was another ego ploy. Getting super critical, believing that one error and it's over, and now you have to, you have lost your money and it's over. It's all ego games. Your own guides are actually very kind, and everything is very productive. So I wanted to share this example with you to show you that you don't need to feel intimidated or overwhelmed with a new deck of cards. You just need to start, and you need to have reasonable expectations. You're not going to get confident overnight, but you can start with your own little experiment today. Pull one card, and the chakra card deck is particularly good because it has stories. If you get the digital version, the phone app you can pull one card from the phone app, and then it comes with a story. So it helps you circumvent the issue of memorizing your 2,000 preliminary phrases to start practicing the new language. The phrases are there for you. The stories are there for you. So it takes just a few minutes to read, and from there on you pause and notice. You might not notice immediately, maybe not today, maybe tomorrow. So after 1 or 2 hours, if you haven't connected anything around your surroundings with the story on the card, then just pull another card. And I have friends and I've seen people who avoid the digital apps, and maybe for good reason. But my personal experience has been wonderful because I always have my phone with me, and not always I have my cards. And also, as a physicist and a scientist who actually worked with random number generations in my research days, I know how difficult it is to create truly random number generator. In fact, scientists and the algorithms rely on some natural processes to kind of mimic or give you something that appears random. But what I hear is that if that random number generator is linked to a natural process, the radioactive decay of some atom or the population of some little fly somewhere, it's actually plugged into our physical world. And if it's plugged into the physical world, it follows the patterns. And so it can actually be just as good source of connection to your intuition and to your higher self as using the physical cards. Again, take this as what is true in my own world, and you get to experiment to find out what is in your own world, because there is no objective world. Remember, 8 billion souls on this earth. That means 8 billion personal subjective scripts. If you're watching this video, probably your script has to be overlapping to a degree with my script. And so that's the good news for you, that you can take what I say and practice and experiment. But keep in mind that some of the things might work and others not. And of course, if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, go to my website, effortlessreality.com, for more resources on this.